So you've seen some extraordinary images tonight. You've heard about one of the most complex conservation interventions that certainly I've seen happen in my lifetime under enormous external pressures and delving into the unknown without a time for reflection and careful step-by-step decision-making, and yet so well orchestrated by the National Technical University in Athens that no one that was associated with the project ever had a moment of doubt that we were following the right course and that it was under completely the most capable hands imaginable. And I really would like to offer another tribute to Antonia Moropoulou and her team, who worked so selflessly and so dedicatedly to bring this about, and so seriously. And you've heard about the inspiration of being part of this process, and particularly from Fred, who came in with wide open eyes and an opportunity to do something that National Geographic was a step in a new direction for National Geographic. And I would really like to commend all of you to visit the exhibition. It's one of the most innovative, if not the most innovative, exhibitions of its kind that I've ever seen, because it really does bring a place alive so that you really feel as if you're there. And in my many years of experience at the World Monuments Fund, I always felt that you could never understand a place without being there, without actually seeing it in person, feeling it and listening to it and experiencing that environment. But this was a very, very close to the real experience and the real thing. And there was a wonderful panel at National Geographic last night where their team talked about the personal inspiration that they had taken from the project, and all of them said without question that it was the keystone of their career, whether they were photographers, videographers, or whatever. This was the most inspiring opportunity they'd ever had. So what I thought I would like to do is talk about a different aspect of this based on my experience in trying to orchestrate the preservation of cultural heritage, trying to get people to listen to what these monuments are trying to tell us, and the impetus from my perspective of how this whole thing began. And tell a kind of personal story of our participation in the project by way of an individual who served as the catalyst and really made it happen. Mrs. Mika Erdogan on the left-hand side. You've seen her in some other pictures. But just to give you a little bit more context, there was another highly important historical event that happened in the last several years that hasn't been mentioned tonight. It was a mass that was held in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in the year 2014 that was conducted jointly by the Pope and the Patriarch of the Greek Orthodox Church, His Beatitude Bartholomew, the Patriarch. And there was who's the second person there on the left, and he's an extremely charismatic person, and the current Pope likewise, and very open to the idea of ecumenicality, of sharing ideas across sects. And these two individuals got along so well that they were willing to take the chance of coming together to try to bring together the people of the world, people of faith, to understand that they have commonality. And Mrs. Erdogan was invited to join this event by her priest, Father Alex, a legendary person in the American Greek Orthodox Church. After the event, I asked her how she felt about it, and she said it was without any doubt the high point of my life. And she talked about how the Pope and the Patriarch both said that there were really no fundamental differences between them, that they didn't see why Christians couldn't all have an opportunity to share the same values. And so as it happened in 2014, Mrs. Erdogan was receiving the highest award that the World Monuments Fund offers to its donors and to figures around the world who've made a big difference in the preservation of cultural heritage. And she was contemplating a gift to celebrate this occasion that would have meaning, that would underscore the meaning of her being selected. An extremely modest individual in spite of all that she's accomplished in her life and all that she represents to a lot of people. She's not Greek, she happens to be a Romanian, but she worships in a Greek Orthodox church in America. And so after this life-changing experience, she said, I'd really like to do something that underscores faith and that helps to bring people together. So help me find a project. And so that was our challenge. And our challenge was facilitated by another challenge, you might say, that was revealed when in the newspaper in early 2015, there was an article about how the Israeli government was threatening to close the Holy Sepulchre from pilgrims because of the threat to the building, because it was considered to be not stable enough to receive visitors anymore. And so this was a bit of a wake-up call for the Christian communities in Jerusalem, and we, back in New York, trying to contemplate this gesture, what would bring everyone together, people of faith, toward a common understanding of each other, the light went on. And we thought this challenge might just be our opportunity. And so Father Alex picked up the phone, called the Patriarch Theophilus in Jerusalem with no idea really what his response would be to having not a religious international organization that had never worked really closely together with the church to come in as a partner in this project. And Father his beatitude was very, very warm, receptive, and welcoming, and I think that this moment helped to start these wheels turning that resulted in all that happened thereafter. It was a moment, in the lowest moment before dawn comes the opportunity for accomplishments of the next day. And so that was the gesture that then helped lead to the unfolding of many, many more opportunities to confront every challenge that happened in the course of this project. It was the leadership, really, of the Greek Orthodox Patriarch, his courage to take on that responsibility that made it happen. But I think I always, in my life, have relied on luck or providence to see things turn in the right direction at exactly the right moment. And you've seen many, many images, and these are just like the others, but my point here is that the Edicule was in constant use with hundreds, if not thousands, of people every day visiting, and yet nobody really understood the degree of threat that the building was under, that it was really on the verge, potentially, of collapse, and it was in fact being held up by this 70-year-old scaffolding that was on the verge of failure. And so the Israelis were actually right, although it seemed like something of a staged gesture, they were making their point. None of us, even who were part of the team, realized the degree of urgency of this project until it was underway. And so I think that reveals a paradox that I've encountered many times in my life, that people may regard and respect and care about monuments, but they don't necessarily ever think about what kind of condition they're in and whether they really are in a situation, both in relation to stewardship and condition, that they're really going to survive. And so this was a huge revelation for us, and I think a great opportunity to communicate the challenges of preservation to a wider audience and maybe encourage more people to think about these issues, open their eyes and open their ears to what these sites are telling us. And so now we have something that looks quite monumental, that really lives up to the spirit of being what it is, a kind of symbol of Christian faith and a beautiful building in its own right. And I understand the visitation has greatly increased since the restoration was finished. There are many, many more people coming to such a degree that it's almost creating a problem in itself. But the idea of disseminating the National Geographic exhibition around the world, which is being talked about now, is both a way of alleviating some of that pressure and probably also a factor in helping to disseminate the knowledge and the renown of this place. But I think, to me, what this transformed structure represents is an opportunity for a long-term view, a kind of vision for the future of how all of us together have to ensure that the kind of deterioration that happened in the past would not happen again. The kind of catalytic person to change agent that Mrs. Erdogan was in this case is a role that's been played by many individuals around the world in relation to monuments and sites that they personally cherish and feel that they have to become the champion of. It can be an individual who has significant means, the means to make a financial gesture of the kind that she did, but it can also be someone who becomes, through their passion, just an advocate for others to rally behind. And I think that's been part of the story of every major project I've been involved with. I've often been amazed and impressed by how much a single individual can accomplish through their advocacy. I think the other thing that this major project has revealed is the layers of value and meaning that are embedded in this structure. It's now seen as an architectural gem. It's always been a spiritual magnet for people of all faiths, even beyond the Christian faiths. It has huge layers of historical significance. And its very context, where it's located within the epicenter of a city that has to struggle every day toward this goal of having people live together in peace and harmony, makes it particularly symbolic, I think, for the idea that faith is not retrospective. It's not only respecting traditional values. It's really a hallmark of what we have to have in order to think forward. And this is, to me, a symbol of faith in the future. And so that is the long view that we now have to embrace when we think about the Holy Sepulchre, not just that we managed to achieve the mission impossible and save this building, but what it will be for future generations. Moments like this are very rare, and I must add my own sense of modest honor at having been part of it, along with so many people who made big sacrifices in order to make it happen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.